Velkommen alle sammen. My book is finally out, up for sale now on the site, and you might even be able to get it right here on the YouTube app, somewhere below somehow. So I'm making this video just to break it down, what you're gonna find in it, because it really is something special that has not been anything written like that before on the Norse and Germanic religion. But another announcement, I have just started Old Norse lessons on the Patreon. It's started now. The plan is going through university textbooks, like this one right here, and within 6 months you guys should be able to read the sagas in Old Norse, and within a year we should be conversational. And yes, you guys asked before, the official language of the village is going to be Old Norse when we buy the land and we start building. Anyone can visit or live, but only those who speak Old Norse and have taken the time and dedicated themselves to learn Old Norse can speak at the assemblies and vote, most importantly. And that's just a pretty easy barrier to entry to make sure that the right people are there and they are serious. You don't have to learn Old Norse from me. You can do it other places online. You can do it at the University of Texas. They have a free resource there. I think Jackson Crawford also hosts an Old Norse course. He's going to be a lot better than mine. You're going to get a lot better quality. I think he charges like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Yeah, mine is $5 a month. And yeah, I'm not an expert, but I've been doing it long enough and at university level, so where I can teach you guys and get you guys into basic understanding. So yeah, check that out if you want. The first lessons are going to be free, open to the public for free members. You can check out if you like it, and yeah, that's on the Patreon below if you want. But this video is a quick breakdown of the book that I have just published. Called Norse and Germanic Religion, a Sourcebook Volume 1, and it is about the gods, deities, and other spirits in the religion. And the project has taken years and years of work, and honestly, it fills a major gap. I wanted to write it this way, and I wanted to do it properly. That's why it took so long. I've spent a lot of time reading source books on different religions. Like, these are great. This is Greek religion, a source book, and it's like nothing but sources in there, without modern interpretations and crap like that. But there wasn't any of those for the Norse or Germanic religion, so I made one. And to be clear, this is I'm not going to say it's the best book out there on Norse mythology, Germanic religion, any of that, but there hasn't been a single book like this before that has gathered the original sources on Norse and Germanic beliefs and organizes them by topic. That's exactly why I'm writing these, and there really is no book out there like it. So many sources. You won't turn a couple pages without reading a few sources on here. Almost 500 pages from the folklore, sources from the folklore a couple hundred years ago, sources from the sagas or medieval texts, archaeological inscriptions from the Viking Age, and even sources going back 2,000 years to ancient Roman times. Yeah, it's every little, you won't turn a page or two without reading some source, and that's exactly what I wanted to do. This volume 1 focuses entirely on the gods, deities, and spirits, and all those figures in the religion and how people actually understood them. And if you read this book, you'll walk away with a clear, source-based understanding of the kind of worldview and spiritual daily beliefs of the Norse and Germanic peoples. So yeah, it's not just mythology. It shows about regular everyday beliefs. Volume 2 will be coming soon. I'm already working on it, which will focus on the actual practice, like the rituals, the sacrifices, the festivals, the magic, the ethics of the religion, all of that. And it's going to be even bigger than this one, but I don't have a release date for that yet. I don't know how quickly that'll come, because this was hell writing, and yeah, I don't know how quickly I'll do the second one. But so just giving a quick breakdown chapter by chapter. Chapters 1 and 2 are the foundations of the book. These are short, but they're the most important for understanding the religion. They cover the background. In chapter 1, we go over who are the Norse and Germanic peoples. What time periods are we looking at? When were these peoples pagans? And then in chapter 2, it's short, but it's super important. That very few books go over so far, animism and sympathetic magic in the Norse and Germanic religion, and how did that shape their worldview, because understanding animism makes sense of the gods and the myths, and understanding what is called sympathetic magic helps explain the rituals and traditions. And without this kind of framework, the whole religion just looks like crazy superstition from uneducated, superstitious ancestors. But when you understand the way that all primitive cultures thought and how they viewed the world, even if you don't personally believe in it, it starts to make sense. It starts to be logical. So 2 very, very important but short chapters. I think it's only about 70, 80 pages altogether. Then we get into chapter 3, a very long chapter. I start by addressing a common issue, too much focus on the gods. And that's really what I wanted to write this book for, because more than half of it focuses on other deities and spirits. Yes, of course, the gods were important, but in everyday life, people didn't just walk around thinking about Odin and Thor, praying to Odin and Thor all day. The gods were called on for special occasions, during sacrifices, emergencies, difficult situations, famines, rites of passage, things like that. It's not for daily interaction. It never was. So that chapter includes a breakdown of the mythological texts and their nature, and whether the gods are real or symbolic, and how to interpret different sources like that. The biggest section translates the names of the gods and the meanings of the gods. That's a lot of that is told about in this chart that you have seen behind me, and other videos as well, but I go into a bit more depth in that chapter here. And then I go over some really, really in-depth interpretations and sources on some of the most commonly misunderstood figures from Norse mythology: Yggdrasil, Freyr, Loki, and Almutki Os, the almighty creator god in the Norse religion. So I could have made that chapter thousands of pages, but still I kept it focused. I wanted to cover a lot of these other deities and spirits as well, but there is still at least 150, 200 pages completely dedicated to the gods. Chapter 4 is the best part. That's about other spirits. That's about the longest chapters, about 200 pages. Dives into all the other spiritual beings. And in all of those, I examine whether those spirits and other deities were Germanic, like a common pan-Germanic root that we all had in our beliefs, or was it just Norse, a kind of later addition? Go into their symbolism, their function, and the evolution of it. And again, direct sources and quotes throughout the whole thing. Disir and the elves I start with. 4A and 4B, so that is, they can represent a lot of different things, but at their roots, you may consider them as ancestral spirits, female and male ancestral spirits. I go into the Norns, everything about that, super important. I had a lot of fun writing that, and even some new things that I uncovered. The dwarves. Dwarves are very, very difficult. You guys have been asking for a video about the dwarves for a long time. I wrote a whole chapter, I think 30, 40, 50 pages just on the dwarves and all of the sources. I still don't know what they are, but you have all the tools in there to kind of make up your own decisions about that. Landvetter, land spirits, Valkyries, my personal favorite thing to read about in all the Norse religion. I'll go over that with deep analysis on all of that and all of the sources. The Fylgja and the Hamingja, the protective spirits, our luck, our whatever is related to the karma. Trolls from the ancient times, pre-Christian times, to the post-Christian folklore, even dating to just 100 years ago or so. We have the Draugr, the undead, the Norse kind of zombie-like figures, the revenants. That was my favorite chapter to write about in the book, because you'll see a lot of rituals in there, a lot of very, very mysterious rituals kind of explained, and things that you might be able to do today, and how they viewed the dead and the afterlife, and actual reasons to why these sacred burial mounds were so sacred, and what can be done there, and what kind of benefits can be brought from them. So that was my favorite thing to learn about as well, because I learned some new things in that as well. And then finally, the Nisse and the Tomte, the household spirits, or spirits of the homestead, mostly coming from later folklore, but I think there's plenty of sources in here that I go over to show that they were present during pagan belief as well, and common to all Germanic cultures. And those spirits, the Nisse and the Tomte, are probably the ones that people would be closest to today, especially if you have some property, if you have some land. Those are the ones that would be most useful in people's day-to-day practice. But like I said, I focused about half of the book on the gods and mythology, and the other half about these other deities and spirits that people often ignore because, like I said, we focus way too much on the gods a lot of the time, and they're just a small part of the religion and not as relevant in the day-to-day beliefs. And I really wanted to uncover the day-to-day beliefs of the pre-Christian Norse and Germanic peoples there. So that's about it. I included at the end you'll also see there's about 30-40 pages of citations, all of the top sources in the subjects, everything there, all referenced, that you're going to find in the book. And then I have about 20-30 completely blank pages, and because I wanted you guys to fill it in with your own notes, your ideas, your own interpretations, because this book isn't just meant to be read, it's meant to be used and studied and then built upon. I want you all to develop your own beliefs and practices, rooted in the historical sources and archaeological finds, of course. So yeah, that's about it. It's getting close to sold out on the website. There might be 50 copies left or something like that, but I'll be getting more soon in a few weeks when those sell out. Yeah, NorseImports.com, and like I said, there might be a link below on this YouTube video where you can pick it up, and yeah, we'll see how well they sell, and then we'll see how quickly I want to write the second volume. So thank you everybody for the support, especially the Patreon community. You guys have already received those for the most part, and yeah, this book wouldn't have existed without all of you here, and I hope it helps bring people, whether you use it for your everyday practice, whether you use it to help form your beliefs, or whether you're just curious about the history of your ancestors, and you want to learn and understand their worldview a bit better. Yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments if you have picked up a copy, and I'd love to hear which parts you like the most and what parts I should include in volume 2. That's all for today. Vi ses nästa gång.